SQL processing questions. I'm working with Oracle SQL from day one. When I joined IT industry, and I have been fascinated by a number of things I have learned about SQL, different databases and its usage over the years. In early phases of my career, I learned that writing SQL queries was not just about writing, but writing so it can run efficiently. Performance of SQL queries are critical to any application that is built to use Oracle, and I say Oracle because this blog is specifically for Oracle SQL. The following is a list of some tips which can be used as a guideline to write and review custom SQL queries. This is by no means an exhaustive list to get the best tuning results, but can serve as a ready reference to avoid the common pitfalls while working with Oracle SQL. 1. Do not use a set operator union if the objective can be achieved through a union all. Union incurs an extra sort operation which can be avoided. 2. Select only those columns in the query which are required. Extra columns which are not actually used incur more I/O on the database and increase network traffic. 3rd, do not use a keyword distinct if the objective can be achieved otherwise. Distinct incurs an extra sort operation and therefore slows your query start. 4. If it is required to use composite index, try to use a leading column in the where clause. Though index skip scan is possible, it incurs extra cost in creating virtual indexes and may not be always possible depending on the cardinality of leading columns. 5. There should not be any Cartesian products in the query unless there is a definite requirement to do so. I know this is a silly point, but we all have done this mistake at one point. 6. Whenever multiple tables are used, always refer to a column by either using an alias or using the fully qualified name. Do not leave the guesswork for Oracle. 7. SQL statements should not be formatted consistently. Example, the keywords should be in caps to aid readability. Now, this is not a performance tip really, however, it's important and part of the practices. 8. If possible, to use bind variable instead of constant literal values in the predicate filter. Conditions to reduce past repeated parsing and same statement. Use meaningful 9. Use meaningful aliases for table views. 10. When writing subqueries, make use of exists operator where possible, as Oracle knows that once a match has been found, it can stop and avoid a full table scan. 11. If selector predicate is in the subquery, then use in. 12. If the selector predicate is in the parent query, then use exists. 13. Do not modify index columns with functions such as rtrim to upper trunk, as this will prevent the optimizer from identifying the index. If possible, perform the modification on the constant side of the condition. If the index column is usually accessed through a function, consider creating a function-based index. 14. Try to use an index if less than 5% of data needs to be accessed from a data set. The exception is a small table, which is usually best accessed through full table scan, irrespective of the percentage of data required. 15. Use equi-joins whenever possible. They improve SQL efficiency. 16. Avoid the following kinds of complex expressions: NVL, to date, to number. 17. It is always better to write separate SQL statement for different tasks, but if you must use one SQL statement, then you can make a very complex statement slightly less complex by using the union or operators. 18. Joins to complex views are not recommended, particularly joins from one complex view to another. Often this results in an entire view being initiated and then the query is run against the view data. 19. Querying from a view requires all tables from the view to be accessed for data to be returned. If that is not required, then do not use a view. Instead, use a base tables or if necessary, define a new view. 20. While querying on the partition table, try to use a partition key in the where clause if possible. This will ensure partition pruning. 21. Consider using parallel hint while accessing large data set. 22. Avoid doing an order by on large data sets, especially if the response time is important. 23. Consider changing the optimizer mode to first row. If the response time is important, the default is all rows, which gives better throughput. 24. Use case statements instead of decode, especially where nested decodes are involved, because they increase the readability of the query immensely. 25. Do not use hints unless the performance gains clear. 26. Check if the statistics for objects used in the query are up to date. If not, use the DBA stats package to collect the same. 27. It is always good to understand the data both functionally and its diversity to improve and volume in order to tune the query. Selectivity and daunting factors have a big impact on query plan. Use of statistics and histogram can drive the query towards a better plan. 28. Read explain plan and try to make the largest restriction as the driving side for the query followed by the next largest. This will minimize the time spent on I/O and execution in subsequent phases of the plan. 29. If the query requires quick response time rather than good throughput, is the objective, try to avoid sorts. For good throughput, optimizer mode should be set to all rows. 30. Queries tend to perform worse as the age due to volume increase, structural changes in the database and application upgrades. Use automatic workload repository AWR and ADDM to better understand the change in execution plan and throughput of top queries over a period of time. 31. SQL Tuning Advisor and SQL Access Advisor can be used for system advice on tuning specific SQL and their join and access paths. However, advice generated by these tools may not be always applicable. 32nd. SQL access paths are joins. For joins are a component determining query execution time. Hash joins are preferable when two large tables need to be joined. Nested loops may work better when a large table is joined with a small table. Points listed above are only pointers and may not work under every circumstance. This checklist can be used as a reference while fixing performance problems. Okay. Further suggested reading material: use advanced replication, change data capture, AWR and ADDM, and partitioning strategies. Okay. For SQL query tuning, it is important to understand a few other points like understanding the data, business, and applications. Using the realistic test data, using bind variables, stored procs, and packages, using indexes carefully, making available the access path, using the explain plan and TKProf, optimizing the where clause, using where instead of having, using the leading index columns in the where clause, index scan versus full table scan, using order by for an index scan, minimizing table passes, joining tables in the proper order. Simple is usually faster. Using row ID and row number wherever possible. Usage of explicit cursors is better. Reducing network traffic. Using Oracle parallel query options. These are a few other options that needs to be considered when trying to tune a SQL. Thank you for listening.